I was a kid, 6 and 7, in that kind of age range, I often went down to a place called Glenmore Dam. It was truly a sanctuary for me because it had this long, tall grass, and I think it was called buffalo grass. I would go down there and I'd take my clothes off and I'd go running through the grass. I'd lie there and I'd just look up at the clouds and I'd close my eyes and I'd dream about myself being this little girl and just being free. It was always, why did I have to be born like this? Why couldn't I be born the way I feel? All I knew was that I shouldn't have been born with a penis.
So we're going to cut ahead, friends, to scandal, outrage. Yes. Say what he wants! There'll be nobody slacking on nothing. Here's a party.
Coming down here was about stepping outside my comfort zone. I really took a leap of faith. You're 61, Bobbi. Should I really be doing this?
All right, so if Anela and Tatiana can be getting ready, and while they're getting ready, for us to start the top of the show.
Okay, Gary, whenever you're ready, please.
There's a bright golden haze on the meadow.
Oklahoma. I can't think of any other piece of theater or film or anything that I can connect with more to Mom. That connection that Mom had to the music. I still remember her singing.
You reach a certain stage in your life, you know, I turned 60, then you start to look back, and one of the things I wanted to do is reconnect with a cousin who had been pretty close to when I was young. But she's Bobbi to me now, but my experience with her for the longest time was as a male cousin.
My gosh.
How you doing, Bobbi?
What brings you all the way down south for crying out
To
loud?
see you. How are you? So I exchanged emails with Sue. She's planning to get down in the next, few months to say you do your thing. And
I can make sure I save some tickets because they're going to be scarce for Oklahoma. We've already had 6 upgrades to additional shows.
Yeah.
I'm on a working holiday. God. I love it, but the satisfaction aspect of it. Oh God, yeah.
yeah, the challenge of it and the...
Yeah, the challenge of it. There's been moments of judgment outside of myself, which is difficult to deal with. But, I've always had that issue. I was 2 years old then.
You were a golden blonde kid.
Yeah. How can I be? Look at me. My God. I was born and registered in Calgary, Alberta, 1957. February 8th. Nice Aquarian baby. I've got 1 brother and 5 younger sisters. So I'm second oldest.
Through my growing up years, I just thought Rob was Rob. I never really had a strict idea of what normal was. Rob was a very nice older brother, kind of nurturing and usually there. Pretty fun, pretty outspoken.
Dad was definitely an entrepreneur. From what Mom said, he was into everything. That was his passion, was to be able to do what he really loved to do and be able to support his family at the same time. He was an amazing family man. I couldn't have probably picked a better dad in a physical sense or in a supportive sense when we were kids. As we got older, it was more difficult to read Dad, or probably falsely to live up to his expectations of what I should be. First sense of me being different or in the wrong body would probably be around 5. But that was my first definitive recollection of it. And I always remember when we used to play dress up, I always wanted to be the princess or the queen. That was my big thing, was being the queen of the castle and ruling everybody. The tickle trunk was just a whole collection of Mom's clothes that she didn't wear anymore. All these really neat clothes that you could dress up in, and allowed us to play make-believe. And yet, it made me feel so real. Gave me a sense of belonging to myself. Mom always looked at me and said, "Well, that looks lovely on you, dear. Well, I think we should maybe look at getting you some shoes." So we go and dig through the tickle trunk and there'd be an old pair of her shoes, and she laughed about it. A lot of the stuff that I'd come up with, I'd find an old bra and I'd stick it on and I'd stick tissue in it and I'd come up and she'd be laughing so hard. "Oh, don't you look sweet? Oh, you're so lovely." There was none of the judgment on me with regards to what I wore. But I have to say that I was very measured or very strategic whenever I did do it, because I mostly did it when there was nobody else around. Because then I knew I had Mom all to myself.
Well, I don't know if I can really pinpoint when Rob or Bobbi was struggling. We grew up together, we were quite close, and I never noticed anything different about Bobbi. They were good times. He was a good kid.
I still remember, I don't know why this particular dress stands out. It was, I think it had daisies on it or flowers on it. I actually took it out of the tickle trunk because I wanted to wear it. And I hid it. And I knew that when I got older, I was going to be able to wear it. And I had that everywhere I moved. That was one of the first things I packed. When I first got here, it was like, oh God, the doubts, the self-doubts, everything. In theater, you're in this grandiose place that requires a real outward exchange towards the audience. Getting back to that has been an adjustment.
You certainly buncoed me.
Now, here's our last 2 hampers. Whose they are, I ain't got no idea.
The little one's mine, and the one next to it is Lori's.
That's the end of that secret. Now, what am I? I'm always afraid of losing Aunt Eller. I'm always going around town and saying, well, where do you think is the closest watering place that I can, have a little bit of a brew? When I was a kid, I would just be on my own most of the times, where you could live out all of your fantasies about who you wanted to be. Back then, of course, you didn't have any templates. You didn't have any reference to anything. And I was so angry so many times because I didn't look like my sisters. When I'd go down to the reservoir, Glenmore, I'd often take tape and tape everything. They call it tucking now. I didn't know the word back then, but you can pull it back and then close your legs and you look down and it just looks exactly the way it should. And that's what I wanted. It was a double-edged sword because at the time I was doing it, I remember this wonderful feeling of, and then you have to come back to your world. When I was a kid, I was often thinking, okay, what happened if I'd cut it off? What would happen? And probably a good thing I didn't, because I probably would have bled to death and it would have been very painful. I remember my first experience playing the bagpipes, and I saw my grandpa play the bagpipes. And I saw him wearing a kilt. And I thought, yeah, I'm gonna play the bagpipes because I can wear a kilt. And I can be as close to who I wanna be, dressing-wise, as possible. And everybody's, wow, don't you look great in a kilt? I loved the bagpipes, and it played right into my sphere of the unusual. It was the best. It was the best. I'm gonna go practice the bagpipes, Mom, so I can wear a kilt.
Okay, so we're gonna take it from what beautiful day entrance.
Quick question, Bill.
Yes.
So I'm coming in at the top of Oklahoma to turn the light off or on, whatever it
Turn
is.
the light on.
Okay.
And then you begin to churn at the Oh, What a Beautiful Morning introduction.
Good.
The community that we create in this production would be inclusive. They've made a choice to live in this community in a place that is loving and accepting of everybody and would be reflective of every letter in LGBTQ+.
Everybody ready?
Yes, yes.
I decided fairly early on in our casting process that I believed that Anela should be played by a transgender actor and that she should be a transgender character. And so we began a search for a woman who would bring that life experience. And when our casting director shared Bobbi's picture with me, I just thought, that's Anela.
She is the matriarch of this community. She is fire and brimstone, doesn't take any bullshit.
Thank you.
And yet she practices very tough love because she realizes how difficult and how tough the world really is.
Okay, we're moving on. It's really shiny.
Everything that Aunt Eller is me.
Yeah.
The frustrations that she experiences are the frustrations that I'm experiencing, and I'm working it through her.
Take care of her,
Always, my whole life, really, since I can remember, finding acceptance, whether it was from mom and dad or from you or from anybody that was close to me. It was always about making them happy so that they would accept me.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time where I thought, I don't know how else I'm going to be able to live unless I completely suppress everything that there is that's true about me and become completely false to myself. Was I thinking of it in those terms? Probably not. All I knew is that the only way that I could function and become part of something was to completely suppress it as deeply as I could. You were the closest thing that I had to a friend. And yet there was still, for me, I had this veneer that I had set up. I had to become what I call ultra competitive, and became probably machismo plus. I had to beat everybody at everything. Yeah. I wouldn't give away a 2-foot putt unless I'd already won the hole when we were golfing. There was this huge competitive fire, and not because I wanted to be that way. It was because that was the only way I thought I could be to suppress that which I was. But I had to prove myself to my dad. Rightfully or wrongfully, that was my perception.
Oh! Shoot. Well, the pressure's on, Bobbi. I'm not used to being ahead against you. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Was that a twitch or was that your stroke?
Oh, look at you.
Yeah. Oh boy, did that ever scoop left.
For the first win in 40 years.
Oh!
So we get jobs at 16, go to work at the country club. You know, one day you wave me over to your car in the parking lot and hand me this cardboard box, and it's full of Playboys and penthouses. And tell me the story of those magazines, which I thought was a great gift. And for you, what they represented.
You get a certain number of them, you eventually have to get rid of them. It's kind of like National Geographic magazines. You're tired of carrying them around after a while. For me, it was all about self-identity. The magazines were all about who I should be, who I was meant to be. And part of that was a search for answers. And it wasn't for the normal male-driven desire for the magazines. It was, for me, a placement, for me to put myself in that magazine. It was just an identity component for me. It had no sexual aspects to it with regards to the pictures. The thoughts, people call them fantasies, were often of me as a female being made love to by a strong, compassionate, warm man. It's interesting how you view things as an adolescent and then later on as an adult. You think as an adolescent, anything is possible. Because you're told, well, if you dream big enough, you'll be able to accomplish your dreams. Well, why the doesn't this dream happen then? It was interesting, at 16, I was able to take part in a human sexuality study put on by the university. And I discovered it wandering around the campus. They were looking for a number of test subjects. And so I thought, oh, okay, well, you know, I'm always curious about human sexuality, always have been. It was something that I went and signed up for, and nobody questioned my age because I looked 18. 19. We did tests and things like this. And after the study, the psychiatrist who was heading the study came up and said, we saw some markers that I was wondering if you'd be interested in maybe pursuing it a bit further. And I said, sure, I'm game. So the first meeting we had, he said, do you know anything about transgender, transvestitism, transsexual? I said, no. I've heard a couple of words like transvestite and cross-dressing. And so he explained it to me. And as soon as I found out what he was talking about, it was like this whole weight just came off of my world. I could at least put a name to it. But knowing it and being able to express it drove me nuts. Now that I know, how am I going to explain this to my parents, who never talked to us about sex? So how do I express to them that, Mom, Dad, I'm a transgender female, and I need help with this, and I need to make things right. And the reason I don't know how to express it to my parents is because I don't want to disappoint them. So this old imprint comes back from when I was very little. I have to make people happy. And I can't disappoint them. So now I go even deeper in depression, and the psychiatrist put me in touch with a psychiatrist in Vancouver. And in those days, of course, you didn't have email. Would have been a heck of a lot easier if we'd have had email back then. But for me to always have to worry about checking the mail, so I went and got a box number, and we would exchange letters probably every 6 months. He'd like to check in and just see how I was doing and if I was coping. And when I read his letters, it gave me hope. And so I'd come out of it for a while, and then I'd sink back down into it. And it was just this wave. And I'm so thankful that there's much more of a supportive group up there. There was nothing when I grew up, nothing. I lived a life of heavy depression in my younger years, but I thought being married would help cure me, or at least it would alleviate the drive to become something that in those days I didn't think I'd ever be able to become. She was a great gal. I met her in high school, hated me at first. I should have read the signs right away. But after a while, I guess I kind of wore on her. We got married at 21, against my inner voice saying, what the hell are you doing? I even saw a counselor up at college, and I told her how I felt and how I was personally. And she said, are you gay? I said, no, I'm not gay. But do you know what transgender is? And the look on her face was not one of horror, but wow. And we sat and talked about it and how I felt. And she said, well, what are you getting married for then? I said, well, I think it's going to help. And she says, no, it won't. It won't help. But back to that society, that environment, and having everybody around, oh, you're gonna make such a lovely couple. Oh my goodness. And Mom was Mom. She was just, and I mean Mom as in didn't say a thing. Because I think she knew. She says, no, this isn't right.
When he got married, it did seem kind of fake to me. Like he started acting more kind of mannish and more serious, and kind of like he was playing a part. It seemed not like a really close relationship. Like they weren't really in sync.
I still had my little private tickle trunk, and I still dressed up when my wife wasn't at home. I found outlets for who I wanted to be, and one of them was going to clubs, and one was flashbacks. It was a place of freedom for me. And anytime I could, I would go out to places that were primarily for drag queens or individuals who had a community, either cross-dressers or components of that. That whole issue of being a man in a marriage was very difficult. I really thought that it would help, and it didn't.
There'll be nobody slacking on nothing. Here's a party.
Thank you. Smoke these out.
Hi. How are you? I'm great. How are you?
I'll tell you, it's getting close to game day, and I'm loving it.
Good.
I'm loving it. The focus is peaking up, and it's great.
Just a reminder, after you shoot that gun, grounded.
Yep.
There, Frantic, you are calm and in control. Cool and collected.
So actually bring it down a level then.
I think, I mean,
Because
it's
the
all,
gun says it all.
the gun says it all.
Yeah. So be here. There'll be nobody slugging out anything.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
That
Yep.
authority, that level of authority.
Yep. Great.
Thank you.
Oh, 15 minutes. That's where the production house is. Huge arts community here, too. Oh, this is unreal. It's nice to see.
Yeah.
And just not from my point of view, but from all points of view. Yes. After my marriage ended in '85, I decided, okay, I'm going to do something I've always wanted to do, which was dance. I wanted to dance even when I was little. I wanted to take up ballet dancing, but of course, little boys don't dance. They don't, especially ballet. Oh, God. If you do anything, at least maybe take the piano or something like that. But even then, that was not boy enough. So I took up ballroom dancing, the opportunity to wear the costumes and to feel the rhythm. That was really a saving grace on the one hand. On the other hand, I wanted the heels, I wanted the short skirts, I wanted to dance the female part. So I excelled enough in ballroom dancing, I was able to teach ballroom dancing, and so I was able to teach the female part of it. So I danced with men. Well, just pretend I'm a female, and we'll get along just fine. At the same time, there were opportunities at the local theater, Walterdale Theater. The theater was where I could really lose myself. It allowed me to express myself, to get out my anger, get out my frustrations, get out my passion. It was the most amazing feeling to be able to unleash all that pain through my roles.
Got any work yet?
I did a large diversity of roles, but they all had an edge to them, and that edge was finding oneself and the pain of going through that search.
I've decided to go east. I'm gonna see what I can find. Maybe get lucky.
Does that mean Moochie's available? Maybe I'll get lucky.
Maybe you should go back to work.
A director who was directing one of my final shows said, "Robbie, you gotta get out to Vancouver. They're just aching for people that look like you, especially in the commercial industry. They want the tall, lanky, good-looking, strong kind of West Coast dude. So I figured, well, why not? I moved lock, stock, and barrel out to Vancouver in March. I left at 30 below and arrived at 10 above. When I got out of the car and I kissed the ground, I said, oh my God, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where my life is going to finally change.
Guy tells me that these are what the results are. Look, I've dealt with him before. Now look, Paul, I'm gonna give him some information. You're gonna have 20 uniforms coming to your place and charging you with the murder of 3 people, and there's nothing that would make them happier than if you were to get yourself shot for resisting arrest.
My work life in Vancouver, it was an actor's license. It really was. I worked at a restaurant. Actually, I had to audition for it. And the first question they asked me was, so have you ever waited tables before? And I said, well, I remember bringing sandwiches to my mom's bridge club at 5 years old. Does that count? And I think right there and then, I think I got the job. Vancouver was like this whole new world. Nobody knew me out there. I lived in the West End, and there were places that I could go and just be absolute free. And I could experiment and explore my sensuality and my sexuality without fear of my former school buddy coming up to me and, what the hell are you doing here? So there was a tremendous freedom to be able to be who I needed to be. The different hotels where all the drag queens would go, and the drag shows were just so amazing. They had what they called an amateur night. We went over and I got dressed up in this sequins gown, which was just like knockout dead gorgeous. I looked smoking hot in this thing. You came up and you posed, but there's all these wonderful chandeliers that hung down along this catwalk. Came out 25 feet. Well, I'm 6'1", and then they put me in these high stilettos, which increases my height another 5 or 6 inches. Now I'm on my tiptoes. I come onto the stage and proceed to walk down the catwalk. There's hoots and there's hollers and there's applause, and just a euphoric feeling of, oh my God, this is so amazing. And then all of a sudden there's dead silence. I turn around and there's this wig hanging from the chandelier, swinging back and forth like a trapped raccoon. I said, okay, well, I'm gonna finish this anyways. We started up the music and I finished the catwalk, came by the chandelier, took the wig off, stuck it back on my head, bowed, and left the stage. After that, the manager came up. Gina, that's the name I used in the show. He says, how'd you like a job? I said, what do you mean? People love you. I want to hire you as the front door receptionist, but you have to dress as Gina. Well, am I going to say no? I don't think so. Numbers was a local dance club, which was predominantly visited by the LGBT community. But you had a lot of cisgender, heterosexual males and females coming there just because it was a great atmosphere and it was a great dance floor. I was there with a bunch of gals. We were having a great time. We were dancing, we were having drinks. It was just sublime. You think that it gets easier, but it doesn't. As I was leaving, there was some garbage going on outside, and the gal said, well, why don't you take a cab? And I said, no, I just have to cut through the parking lot and the alley, and I'm home. What's the big deal? I said, well, you shouldn't be going alone. I said, well, I'm fine. I'll be fine, so don't worry about it. But when I was crossing the parking lot, a group of young guys decided they wanted to have a little bit of fun. They actually thought at first that I was a genetic female. And when they got me up against the side of the building and they discovered that I wasn't, of all the friends that I had that were gay bashed and that, for me, I just thought, wrong place at the wrong time. I guess I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. They just didn't rape me. They brutalized me. And it was more than just with a coat. I ended up in a hospital. And I remember lying in the bed and I had the one patch over my eye. And first thing that came into my mind is this, crazy, but wow, I wonder what my headshots will look like with a patch over my eye. I'll be able to get lots of work. It's like stupid stuff, just to hide pain. But I think the worst of it was the fact that when the police came, if there would have been just one police officer that would have had a compassionate element, just because they saw me as being a tranny, rather than a human being, they saw me as a tranny. And they were making comments about what I was wearing and my undergarments that they picked up because they'd been torn off, and just, they're actually chuckles. You're supposed to get a report. There was none even submitted. Nothing. I wasn't anybody. I wasn't even a human being. And I just thought, what's the point? What's the point of this whole f***ing struggle?
Okay, so we're taking from Sposen. And everybody, we're continuing on to Oh What a Beautiful Day entrance.
Hey, everybody! But we actually really need to focus and do what you're doing, but if you're talking, then you're talking. We need to do the work. So, thank you. Quiet in the house. Thanks, everybody.
And we're going to hold here, everyone. We'll take a 10-minute break. 10 minutes, everyone.
Seems like yesterday, but 10 years ago, my God. I was working at a restaurant in Victoria, and I had worked my way up to being assistant manager. It was the wedding center of Victoria. There was an incident where the manager owner wanted me to take care of a wedding booking. I said, okay, great. It was a couple, lesbian. At that particular time, it was sort of give or take as to whether or not they could find a place, just because of the morality of certain institutions and establishments. We set it all up. I took the paperwork down to the manager. I said, oh, I'll sign off on it. I'll go upstairs and visit him. He didn't even take 3 steps into the banquet room. He turns around and he says, you get them the f out of here. We don't do those kind of weddings here. And I said, holy gosh. I had to take a real good look in the mirror. This is a real reflection about who you are if you stay here. I can't be involved with this, and I have to follow my path. I have to become what these 2 women showed me as their strength, to be who they truly were, and to be in love. And I thought, my God, maybe I can find that. But I have to find myself first. I have to find Bobbi. me to be able to be who I was really meant to be, and I truly believe that, Scott, is that I had to become Bobbi or I was gonna die.
I was really kind of taken back because he was always a pretty macho guy. I thought he had a pretty normal life. He was married for a while and he'd always had girlfriends and stuff like that. And to find out that he hadn't been happy, I guess she's a better actress than, you know, I thought.
I'm a freak, but so are we all. Because there's nobody who's the same. We're all human beings. If I'm going to judge somebody because of their culture, their race, their orientation, where's the love? The love has got to come first, beyond any aspect of what the other individual may be. I started the process of hormone replacement therapy on my birthday, February 8th, 2008, and started dressing 24/7. I think I had probably about 9 garbage bags full of male clothes that I was able to finally rejoicefully get rid of. Male blockers, all the drugs that suppress the male hormone, increase the female hormone. And I have to laugh. People think that when you're transitioning, if you're on hormone replacement therapy, that you're a sexual threat. Well, I can tell you from personal experience that your libido goes right down the tubes. You could be looking at the sexiest movie and you're just sitting there and you're wishing you had a box full of popcorn, because you'd find more joy in that than you would watching that. But at the same time, being on the estrogen completely shifted my emotional standing. I would be watching a commercial and see a little puppy dog or a little girl playing in the park, and I'd start crying for no reason whatsoever. One side of the whole hormone replacement therapy was the opportunity to sense or feel in some part what I missed out not being a teenage girl. Yeah? Because I had sore boobs, and it wasn't a sharp pain, it was just like this throb, but there was this sense of, oh my God, I'm growing, oh yes. I had hot flashes, like in the middle of winter. I'd be opening up my sliding doors to my patio and I'd be standing out there in my negligee, and it would be like, oh God, oh. And I had a neighbor, it was just a sweet old gal, and she'd poke her head around the divide in the balcony, and she says, oh, I know what you're going through, dear. I went through that 20 years ago. It's all right, I won't tell anybody. It's fine, it'll pass with time. And I said, oh, I hope not.
You guys can follow through more because you've got eyes on them. Okay, feel good. And we're going to hold here, everyone. We'll take a 10-minute break. 10 minutes, everyone.
When I left the restaurant, I applied for a teaching and director's position at this local performance art school. I says, I'm in the midst of transitioning. If you have issues with it right now, let's end this conversation and I'll leave. They thought my story was so compelling, and it would be such a wonderful tool to be able to provide lessons for students. So I became a director and teacher. The following year, one of the parents who was enrolling one of their adult kids, 21, 22, they did a search on my IMDb under my other name, which was my masculine. both she and her friend were going to pull their kids out if I was going to be part of the teaching staff or the directorship. There were like a dozen other students that already enrolled, and none of them had any problems. But the owner decided that I was possibly going to be hurting his bottom line. I lose my job, and I had no employment.
Folks, we are back from break. We are back from break.
People say, you've got to go to human rights. And I was fighting against doing anything against the school. But then I realized, if I don't make a stand, what am I representing to those other individuals that are struggling with their identity? Whether it's gay, lesbian, Black, Asian, Hispanic, when you have an employer who intentionally dismantles you because of who you are, what you represent. And so I did. I went to human rights. The courts were so backlogged, it could have taken 3 years for this to go to trial. The settlement was minuscule. If I would have known then what I know now, I would have said, screw you and your money. I'm going to tell my story as to the injustice of this world. It was 2010, September 27th was the day that I had the surgery. They take you into the surgery room. They don't give you a complete knockout. They do a spinal, and you don't feel anything. They give you a little bit of a sleeping pill, a sedative, and you're lying like this. And the actual surgery is if you were to take like this, like that's the color of my genital area. It was all black and blue, and it kind of looked like an overripe banana. Now the procedure, I was not nearly this size. The process is that they start at the head. They'll keep some of the nerves for the clitoris. And what they do is they'll split just below the head here, so I understand. I wasn't in the room to observe it completely. And they'll peel back the skin of the penis. Then what they do, they'll go, boop, and they cut it off. And because there's a natural canal in there, push it back inside. And the actual penile sheath is used as a neovaginal canal. They have a little curtain in front of you, and I could see Dr. Broussard's head. So he's made the vaginal canal and proceeds to merrily stitch away. Well, I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. So I take the curtain and I open the curtain and I said, Doctor, is this my cue to come on? Doctor, how are you doing? When it's done, and it's done how you think it should be done, it's wonderful. But your perception of what your vagina is going to look like is different in a lot of cases than what it does look like. What really helped me was a girlfriend of mine gave me this book, 1001 Vaginas. I think it was 1001 or 101. And every one of them were different. Every one of them was different. It's like snowflakes. It's like men's penises. They're all different. And when I saw that book, for me, this was a freedom. This was my ability to truly be who I am, a female. It was like being reborn.
Good night, kids.
At that particular time, I was able to secure an agent. But within a year, he drops me because, as he put it, there wasn't enough call for my type. I told him, if I had given up on my career as fast as you gave up on me, I'd either be dead or still working in a restaurant. Then found another job. I went into home support.
Great, thank you, and you too. Thanks so much. What a gorgeous name, Ethan.
It's amazing. The elderly have no judgment as to who you are. They just think, you must be Swedish. Are you a Swedish nurse? I think all Swedish nurses are big, aren't they? And actually I said, no, madam, I'm a Scottish Highland lass. Oh, well, that explains it then. Flash forward, 2015, I get a phone call from this agent that dumped me. He says, Bobbi, you know, I've been thinking, how would you like to resign? You know, I know it's been a few years, but I think the world has changed a bit. I think there's more opportunities, especially after Orange is the New Black was out and all that sort of thing was going on. I said, sure, okay. You know, I don't hold any grudges, really. As well, an agent's an agent. Within a few days, I get a call saying I got an audition. The road to the true self was full of ups and downs, but would I change any of it? Yeah, I'd change a hell of a lot of it. Do I have regrets? I have so many regrets that we don't have enough time to be able to explain them all. But there's nothing I can do about it. As one sagely person said, the past is history, the future a mystery, the present a gift. And that's how I look at it.
Yes, Bobby.
On my entrance, I've got time to take this up to here, if that's what you're worried about. And then I can say hello, and then that gets me down here.
That's great, Bobby. You do that, and I think we can take a...
Bill's given me a wonderful opportunity, but do I feel like I'm going to have an opportunity next year? I hope so. Yeah. I hope so, but I just don't want to have this feeling as if it's just a one-of only because of who I am.
Well, if you want to be asked back because you're a hell of an actor.
Exactly, exactly.
Happy dress.
Hi, thank you.
Congrats. Here we go.
Yeah, I know, we're here.
Yes. I know you guys have been working your asses off.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. It's a squeaker. Yeah.
Are you nervous?
I am nervous.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
I hope so. Here we go.
Yeah.
This kind of medium allows me to feel acceptance, especially with this production, after not having been involved with it for 23 years.
Well, I had no idea that she had been away from the stage for so long. I would never have assumed or guessed that. She has a real natural knack for timing, for understanding how to make dialogue work, not only in a natural way, but in a way that's really true to the character.
I lost my life. Oh, well, I don't know where it went to, but we'll find it somewhere.
Film and television is great, don't get me wrong, but there's no sense of connectivity to it. Whereas this, it's something that fills me. It fills the void that I never got with anything else.
Bobbi comes to work before anybody else and leaves after anybody else. There are a lot of young people on this project. I think in the same way that Anne Eller is a village elder and a source of great wisdom and a real leader in the community, I feel like Bobbi has absolutely brought that energy to this cast.
Okay, we're going to take this from that same spot, please.
Scared me to death.
Bobbi is a hoot. She is wonderful.
Come a singing to you. All the sounds of records are like music.
I felt like the first time I met her, it was like, oh, I understand who she is. She's so open-hearted and big-hearted, but you can also tell she has a great strength to her that you can tell is because she's been through things, but also she's chosen peace over it.
Nothing. Oh, the farmer and the cowhand should be friends. Yeah, there we go.
But not, you know, a little. But I love this time.
Thanks, Kip. Thanks for that. Thanks.
The stage I'm at right now, God, I'd love to have somebody in my life, yeah. I'd love to have somebody that I could hold hands with, to curl up with, to go for walks with, to make their favorite dinner on Sunday night. I see people like that, and I'm envious. I would like to have something like that in my life. But I don't. And that's the reality of it. And I may never have anybody like that. So my love is what I'm doing right now. This is my lover. Theater. And acting. First preview is like a homecoming. Just thinking about it is euphoric. For my pre-show routine, I walk through all the seat rows just to touch the seats that people are going to be sitting in. So that even if I'm not connected with them visually during the whole production, there's a part of me that's out there. And I'm hoping that they'll feel it. My dad passed away 21 years ago, and my mom is now living in a residence. She is suffering from what they have diagnosed as Alzheimer's, and she doesn't know who I am. But I know who she is, and that's what matters to me. My mom gave me all the support in the world. She was my best friend, and I didn't need any other friends because I had Mom. I wish I could have given back even a thimbleful of what she gave me, because she gave me the ocean. My dream would have been to have Mom and Dad sitting out in the audience and coming backstage and just seeing them at the end of the hallway and saying, what a great job. Saying I love you, and especially who I truly am.
You love your kids no matter what, and I think you love your siblings the same way. You just want them to be happy in life and go through it and enjoy it and you know, accomplish some things that they like to accomplish. Well, I think Bobbi over the years has struggled a bit as an actor. It's a hard business. We're all very proud of her in this play.
Not everybody is going to see me as I want them to, but that doesn't matter. I look in the mirror and I say, Bobbi, you're really good. Just give yourself a pat in the back and say, wow, there's not a lot of people that would do what you're doing right now, especially what you've gone through. Oh my God, you guys. Oh my God. From the crew.
Oh, there you go.
Mike.
Just for you, Bobbi.
Oh my God, you guys. Jeez. This is the first time in 23 years I've received flowers for a play. Oh my God. Oh God. Thank you so much.
Break a leg, eh?
Oh my God, thank
Very
you.
proud of you.
Oh, thank you so much. So at the end of this whole journey, I finally, I think, in my mind, I found community.
So, Bobbi, I gave you a little more fullness. I noticed that. I think it'll be good. Yeah. We'll see.
Okay, super. Thank you so much.
Do we have, like, lip color?
I'm hoping that this will turn into other projects. In simple terms, this is my retirement home. You know, where I'm going to be able to continue to work and follow the path that I love so much.
Wow. You know, I knew I shouldn't have played around with those new sockets in the cabin.
I like it.
It's great. I love
it. I like it too. You look great. Excellent.
I don't want to put too much weight on it because, you know, therein lies disappointment. But I am going to scratch and I am going to claw and I am going to do whatever I have to make sure that I'm back here next year.
Okay.
Wow.
Great.
All right. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. Oh, Lord.
I don't look at myself as Bobbi who used to be someone else. When I look at it, I was always that person. So I'll just say, look at me and see me as the woman that I am.
I think what this whole production is trying to do is just to say, here's who I am, and for the audience to be able to maybe find more courage in their own lives to really own who they are and to be at peace in our own skin, which is, of course, all any of us want.
Something I learned from Bobbi is how much to appreciate the moment we're in right now. And she said, if I died the day after we closed, I would die happy.
There'll be nobody slugging out anything. This here's a party. Sing it, Annie. Dum titty tum tum. Oh.
She is a wholly engaged, self-aware, and generous human being. I can't imagine that those weren't qualities that she's always exhibited as being someone who I think has a real deep sense of who they are in their soul.
You all know the rules, folks. You gotta bid blind. You ain't supposed to know what young'un goes to what hamper. Of course, if your sweetheart tells you theirs is done up a certain kind of way with a certain color ribbon, ain't my fault.
I am 61, and if I were to look back and see my 20-year-old self, I would tell them it'll be lonely, but by God, it'll be worth it.
Going for $50. Going. $51! You crazy?
I think she's very courageous, very brave. I've always, you know, loved my brother, and now I love my sister. I just want everyone to be happy in who they are. Hi, Mom. How are you?
Oh, my gosh. I sure couldn't expect something like that.
Hi, Auntie Doris. Happy birthday.
Oh, boy.
It's your nephew, Scott. Remember me?
My God, there.
Bob's son.
I don't get a kiss on the cheek very often. So tonight, I just figured I got the best in the West.
Is that music? Do you recognize that music?
Look at that. That's quite something.
It is.
There. Boy, that's something, isn't it? Well, they're all doing their good job there.
Yep.
There she is. Looking lovely as she does.
Does look lovely.
Oh, he's got his fancy hats on, too. That's a real performance there. I think they did a good job on it.
Yeah, I think so too.
How's your day today? You're looking very glamorous.
Oh. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
If that's the truth.
Well, it is the truth. You know, we can always get out there and we can do a little dance, maybe.
Well, there's certain things that you do all right.
Yeah.
And then there's other things that you just leave out of sight.
Out of sight, out of mind is what you always used to say, right?
That's a lot of it, too.
Yeah.
I'm tired of working. Yes. Seems like I've done it most of my life.
Yes, well, you probably have done it most of your life because you had so many children that you had a lot to worry about with each one of them.
Yeah, well, they were a good bunch.
Yeah? There's nothing going to happen to you while I'm here.
That's true.
You know?
And I know that.
Yes, you do know that.
We can only hope for the best.
That's all we can do. Is hope for the best side comes forward. That's right.